On this week's episode, we're building a stainless steel, custom, handmade snorkel for the Suzuki Samurai. Alright, so if you guys remember quite a few videos back, I built this custom airbox and I set it up to take a snorkel. And my idea to make the snorkel was out of 2.5-inch exhaust tubing, fits into the intake over here, and it's just going to come out the wall here, go down the side. It's going to come up the side of the Zook here, and then we're going to turn at an angle. It's going to go up along the windshield frame here, and then when it gets up in here, we'll cut this pipe off at a bit of an angle and kind of face it under the roof rack, and then that's where it's going to draw its air into the airbox. It should be pretty sweet. It's stainless steel. I'm going to TIG weld it all together, and unfortunately I got this pipe off Amazon, which is fine, but it's got a lot of tooling marks, I guess, from the mandrel bending, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make those disappear, unfortunately. But it's a nice tight radius. I thought maybe I could polish it up so it looks nice and really polished, but we'll see how it ends up, how it turns out. Maybe I'll have to sand and polish and get these tooling marks out. Maybe not. Maybe it won't be no big deal. But let's have at her. And I think the first thing we got to do is basically figure out where we're going in here, drill the hole, oblong it, get our pipe to fit in there nicely, and then start fitting it, marking the angles that we need to have this stuff at, and then we'll TIG weld it all up, fit it. We'll need to make a few tabs that get welded to the side of this. I'll have to probably make a tab or two here and here where this upper pipe and the tab will meet, and they'll get welded together. So let's get after it. So if you can imagine this being the fender as a straight edge, and I want this pipe here to run right along the fender, you can see how oblong. It's not going to be a perfectly round hole like as if you were just sticking this pipe through. I want it, it's going to be an oval shaped hole, and it's going to be tough to figure out exactly how to do it, but it's just going to be trial and error, and drill the hole where I want it and trim, and basically just keep trimming and fitting and keep fitting until it goes in the way you want it. And then I've got some I don't know what you call it, but it's like a rubber type of trim that goes around it, so it's not a real sharp edge. So when you look at it this way, you can see this straight edge, and I want it to come fairly close to this windshield washer jug. But if you look at that, you can see that I need to make my actual hole with the hole saw probably 3/4 of an inch back so that this surface is there. So if we imagine it there to run alongside of this tank, that would roughly be the center, but we want to go about 3/4 of an inch back, and I'm just guessing, but it should work pretty good for me. 3/4 of an inch back will be there, and then this stuff here is 2.5-inch OD, and that's about what we got here. 2.5 to where this radius starts rounding. So we're just going to go with just over 1.25. Somewhere about there is where we want to drill the hole saw through. Hopefully this isn't going to screw up. Boy, it's kind of a crying shame to drill a hole in the old Zook here, but there's our hole, and of course it won't It won't go right through because we have this other inside plate, but that's fine. Because we need to oblong the hole anyhow. That's going to be tricky to figure out how much to oblong it. So I'm going to just kind of start drawing what I figure it will be. Something like that. It's probably going to end up being a little more pointier, but we're going to cut that out. Just needs a little more taken out of there and it'll fit pretty good. Alright, here's the stuff I'm talking about that I'm going to line this hole with. And my father-in-law actually gave this stuff to me. Thanks a lot, John. It's going to be perfect for this hole here. It won't cut the fingers or nothing, and it'll finish it off and make it look awesome. As you can see, it finishes off the hole real nicely and it looks awesome. And once I get these fenders powder coated black, it's going to blend in perfectly. It's going to look great, and it's going to look really well finished. So now we just need to figure out where we're going to start cutting this stuff to fit the rest of it. So what I'm going to do here, and I'll be able to eliminate this tooling marks by putting it where I need it, and basically going to say we're going to cut here and here somewhere and get a little leeway so we can cut. We'll cut this one off right at these tooling marks, and then we'll come back and we'll figure out where we want to cut that. Okay, now that we got her cut off, we're just going to kind of put her in here where we think we're going to need it, keeping this eyeballing that to be fairly square. Now we're gonna cut that sucker right there on this line. And then we'll match it up and we'll put a couple of matching marks on it so that I can clock it properly and weld it. And then we'll have to figure out where we're cutting this off to make the angle basically come up here. So here you can see what I've got roughed in now. Pipe comes out of the intake, makes a turn, there's going to be a rubber fitting there, and then the pipe comes out of the fender, makes the turn, and now I'm basically up to making a right hand angle up, which I've got figured out already, and then the angle for the windshield goes up, and see how it works out from there. So I think basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this pipe at roughly the same angle as the windshield, and I'm going to draw roughly what looks level to me. That looks pretty level. Now we're just going to cut this a little long, that way I can keep trimming and trimming to make it fit up to the up pipe. Okay, so I lost audio on a bunch of the footage previous. It seems that when I TIG weld, it must do something to the mic, and I gotta totally reset it from what I'm seeing. So anyhow, I'm just gonna run you through what I've got done so far. I basically got it from the custom air cleaner. Through here, there's gonna be a rubber fitting here. It comes around. I got these angles figured out now. They gotta be TIG welded here and here, TIG weld here, TIG weld there. And I'm probably gonna end up adding a little piece up top here so I can cut it back at an angle. And then I just have to weld on a couple of tabs that mount to the roof rack bar, and that'll hold this upper assembly solid. See how it's not even cut back. It's, you know, if it rains straight down, the water's gonna get in there. So I need to trim that back. Gotta do a couple of welds. But here's how I've got it tucked in. I'm trying to keep it nice and tight so it doesn't stick way out from the samurai and catch on trees and stuff. A couple of lines in here, just so I have some reference marks. Now we're just basically going to remove it and tack that tailpipe on, if you want to call it that, and then weld her all up. And that is going to be my snorkel. Should be pretty cool. I may polish it up, we'll see how it goes. Take her over to the table, we'll weld that tail piece on. Yeah, so definitely as soon as I strike up the TIG, it cuts out these mics. They lose audio. They don't regain it until you shut them off and reset them. So unfortunately the video is going to have a bunch of stuff. It's going to have a bunch of footage with no audio. It's the way it is. I'll maybe have to do some voiceover or something like that. But anyhow, I'm just going to TIG this stuff up here, add a couple of tabs to mount to the roof rack, and basically we should be able to mount everything up, tighten the rubber fitting on here, bolt in our two tabs, and we should be good to go. So let's TIG this up. So what I've got done now is I've just welded a couple of tabs here and here to the old roof rack, and then I've cut a couple of stainless steel strips, and I'm just gonna TIG weld them right to the snorkel and drill the holes, and we should just have to throw some 1/4x20 bolts in there and we should be smiling. So we're just gonna TIG this stuff on right now. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill this hole for this mount, and I wanna keep it away from this bolt on the door hinge so it doesn't rattle. So I'm just gonna hold it away and drill this hole. Let's install the snorkel. that's tight. We can close the lid. There she is, nice and solid. So that concludes the custom-made stainless steel snorkel, and I may get it powder coated, or I might put black Monster liner on here or whatever to match these aluminum fenders when I make them black. But she's nice and solid. She'll pull air in from up here. Should be a sealed deal the whole way. I should be able to fire it up, cup my hand on here, and kill the motor. I think it's going to be pretty sweet. I think it looks pretty good, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Like always, if you're liking this content, go ahead, subscribe, share, like. Hit the bell to be notified. Make sure you turn on notifications. There's a lot of guys not turning on notifications, and they're not getting these videos, all my subscribers. So go ahead, turn them on. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @Fabin_adventures. And we'll get you guys next Friday. You betcha, it kills it. Woo, there's a lot of suction there.